Jack Harris had been a long-haul trucker for more than 15 years, a seasoned road warrior used to greasy spoons, sleepless nights, and miles of solitude. So when dispatch offered him an overnight emergency route from Los Angeles to Chicago, he accepted without hesitation. Just fueled up, double-checked his trailer, grabbed a double shot of truck stop coffee, and hit the highway under a blood-orange sunset, expecting the usual. Long hours, numb legs, and maybe a few half-lucid daydreams too. Passed the time. But somewhere past Flagstaff, things started to feel wrong. His GPS rerouted him due to unusual traffic, suggesting a narrower, unfamiliar detour that curved off the interstate into a thick stretch of pine forest he didn't recall ever seeing on any map. But he followed it anyway, more out of habit than logic, and soon found himself driving down a winding two-lane highway with no streetlights, no road markings, and no cars in either direction. Just trees pressing in like spectators, their limbs bent like arms, and fog creeping in from every angle until the sky disappeared completely. The radio gave only static, the time on the dash flickered oddly, and the chill in the cab wasn't from the air conditioner. It was something else, something ancient and watching. Then he saw her, a lone woman on the side of the road, wrapped in a long gray coat that fluttered without wind, standing too still, her head tilted slightly as if listening for something distant. And though Jack barely had time to register her presence, she vanished when his headlights passed, and he nearly dropped his coffee trying to look back. Chalked it up to fatigue, kept moving, but minutes later, she was in the middle of the road, arms limp at her sides, her face pale and eyes darker than oil, black holes where light went to die, and Jack swerved so hard he nearly flipped his rig, heart hammering as he stumbled out of the truck and into air that felt too thick, too quiet, like time had paused around him. There was no sign of her, and no sign of any other life. Not in the woods, not in the sky, not in the air, and when he checked his phone, it had gone dark, even though it was fully charged an hour earlier. No signal, no clock, just the home screen glitching faintly like a broken mirror. And from that moment, Jack was no longer sure of anything. He kept driving, but the highway never ended, never changed. Always that same stretch of asphalt twisting through trees and fog and ghost towns with names he didn't recognize. Ebon Hollow, Briar Sink, Devlin's Edge. Towns that looked abandoned for decades, with shattered windows, gas pumps that hissed but gave no fuel, and streetlights that buzzed even without electricity. And in every town, just on the edge of vision, was the woman, sometimes reflected in glass, sometimes seated on a bench beneath a flickering lamp, sometimes standing inside a building with no roof. Never moving, never speaking, just watching. Jack's grip on reality began to fray. He couldn't remember how long he'd been on the road, couldn't tell if it was night or day, couldn't remember the sound of another voice, and the truck seemed to run without gas. The coffee in his thermos never ran out, and the clock on the dashboard froze at 3:33 a.m. for what felt like forever. Once, desperate to escape, he turned around and tried retracing his path, only to find himself back at the same exact turnout with the same gas station and the same faded billboard for a motel that didn't exist. He even scratched his name into the sign to be sure, and when he passed it again an hour later, the mark was still there. Another time, he stopped at a place called Low Chapel, where he heard voices whispering inside a boarded-up church, and when he peeked through a crack in the wall, he saw pews full of unmoving people, heads down, faces covered in burlap, swaying as if breathing in sync, until one of them lifted their head and revealed those same black, bottomless eyes, and Jack ran without thinking, convinced the road was alive, or maybe he was dead and this was the stretch in between. Eventually, he stopped seeing himself in mirrors. His reflection faded, became blurry, and one night, when he caught sight of his face in the windshield, it wasn't his anymore. Pale, drawn, hollow-eyed, like someone else had taken over, or something had been drained out of him slowly by the road itself. Then came the dreams, visions of rusted highway signs, bleeding from the letters, of the woman sitting in his passenger seat whispering nonsense in reverse, of him burying something under the road and forgetting what it was, until dreams and waking life were indistinguishable, and he wasn't sure if he was driving, sleeping, or both. Finally, one morning, or something like morning, he found a glowing diner by the road, a real one this time, lights on, home-cooked meals, buzzing in red neon, and he stumbled inside, dizzy, freezing, aching for something human, where a kind-faced waitress in a 1950s uniform greeted him with a warm smile and poured him a fresh cup of coffee as if she'd seen him yesterday. She spoke gently, said nothing strange, just asked how long he'd been on the road, and Jack realized he didn't know, days, weeks, months. But before he could answer, he saw the woman in the gray coat standing outside the window, watching through the glass, closer than ever, her hand now raised like she was beckoning him. The waitress followed his gaze and said quietly, "She doesn't leave. She follows those who've gone too far. You can't go back, you know that, right?" And when Jack asked what she wanted, the waitress only shrugged and whispered, "Some say she's the road itself. Others say she's the one who decides when it ends." And the walls of the diner began to waver, like heat rising from asphalt, and Jack blinked, and was back behind the wheel. No diner, no waitress, just the humming engine and the endless fog-choked highway, with a woman now standing in the center of the road ahead, closer than ever, and this time, he didn't brake. He drove through her like smoke, and when he looked in the mirror, she was in the cab behind him, her black eyes glowing faintly. Mouth not moving but her voice inside his head saying, "Keep going," and Jack did. He kept going, because there was nothing else left, no end to the highway, no off-ramps, no way out, just this cursed strip of road that devours time and memory and names, and now he doesn't remember his own, only that he is part of the road, and the road is part of her. And sometimes, when other drivers get lost in fog or follow detour signs that shouldn't be there, they find themselves on that same highway, and they might pass a red semi-truck crawling slowly down the shoulder, rusted and filthy, its headlights flickering like dying fireflies, and if they dare to look too closely, they might see the outline of a pale man behind the wheel, face stretched in a silent scream, eyes glassy with terror, as a tall woman in a gray coat stands just inches behind him in the cab, whispering things only the damned understand, and by then, it's too late. The road has seen you, marked you, and you're just another Soul Trap Don de Lost Highway.